Everyone has a couple of fixtures that they put a mark next to at the start of the season when the fixture list comes out. For me, it's the 2 Manchester United games and the 2 Spurs games. This match is everything to me. Welcome to the preview for Spurs versus Forest. Good morning, good evening, or good night. Hope you guys are doing well, and welcome to your match preview for Spurs versus Nottingham Forest. Coming up, I'm basically going to tell you how much I hate my brother. I'll talk you through what I think needs to be changed. I think there just needs to be one change in the team selection. We'll talk you through the Spurs team, where their improvements are, and Jono suddenly becoming their star player. If you're enjoying the content, please don't forget to hit that like button. Subscribe to Forest Fan TV if you are new. And one of, I'd say, the best signings of the season so far for us, Callum Hudson-Odoi. £2.5 million for that pure talent. Football Prizes now have a signed framed shirt of Callum Hudson-Odoi that you can win. The link is pinned in the comments, so make sure you go grab your tickets for it now. That's the thing of beauty. And on top of that, there's an instant prize win of Murillo's shirt. So if you want to get the legendary Brazilian while he's still here, go get your tickets now. Okay, so as you all know, I hate my brother. I hate Twist. So this is the reason why I hate these two teams. By default, Manchester United. Big up Chelsea. Oh, I can't wait for the predictor stream this afternoon. 4-3 Chelsea. 4-3, you love to see it. And of course, Spurs. This one goes back years for me, ever since me and Simple As were kids. We got grounded, there was fights, but Forest used to always beat Spurs. And I'm older than him, so I used to always beat him as well. Probably can still beat him now. But anyway, that's not the point. This one is embedded in history for me. And every time this fixture comes round, it means the world to me. Look, it's important for Forest now. Let's not have my personal vendettas overshadow everything here. Because I feel Forest are 2 wins away from safety in the Premier League. With Luton being 3 points behind us, technically 4, but they have a semi-favourable game this weekend at Bournemouth, well, at home to Bournemouth. That could spell trouble for Forest, but Bournemouth are on good form. But we need to now focus on what we do on the pitch, because our destiny, to use the footballing cliche, is in our own hands. And if Nuno can get the performance out of the boys that he got out of them against Fulham, then I'm quietly optimistic. Now, take everything I say with a pinch of salt because of my judgment on this game. I will, spoiler alert for you now, tell you that I think Forest are going to win. Do you agree with me or not? Get your predictions in the comments down below. But let's kick this one off and let's jump into the team sheet. Alright, so these are the brave soldiers from the Fulham game that started, and I wasn't happy with the 6 and the 8 pre-match. However, as I always say on here, if I'm proven wrong and things show themselves and evidence is presented on the pitch, then you have to applaud it, because let's face it, we want nothing more than performances like that. So I wouldn't tinker with this team too much. In fact, I wouldn't be surprised if Nuno just names the same starting 11. I'm not totally against it, but there are certain elements of the Spurs team and Spurs philosophy under Ange Postecoglou that we do need to look out for. So I'm going to make this very simple. There's one change for me, and that is just simply taking Yates out. Maybe unpopular with you guys, I don't know, but you know, guys know me, I'm just always honest. And I'm going to put Dominguez in. Nothing against what Yates did in the last game. I gave him a 9 out of 10. I thought he had a solid performance. But this Spurs midfield is very mobile and very quick at their transitions and trying to move the ball in and around that midfield area and then getting it out wide to Jono and Werner the Burner. And we need some legs in that midfield. I thought Danilo was sensational against Fulham. I do have my worries that when he's done this before this season, he hasn't backed it up with another performance in the following game. But I'm hoping, as a few of you have said in the comments, and you know what, you're probably right. Danilo may be a fair weather player. Just like I'm a fair weather golfer, he's a fair weather footballer. And it just seems when the sun starts to come out, he's a bit like Superman, man. He gets re-energized by the rays of the sun. So let's hope for a nice sunny evening come Sunday. Because I would start Danilo. I think he's earned the start after the performance he put in against Fulham. It was so mature. He marshalled in front of the back line beautifully. And we are going to need that against Spurs' team. Morgan Gibbs-White was sensational. Now, my only worry about Morgan Gibbs-White is the links to Spurs, and they are getting stronger and stronger. Is he maybe going to go too far and try to overperform? We've seen this with players in the past, not necessarily at Forest, but players when they're coming up against that team that they need to impress, etc., maybe overdo it a little more. Or you sometimes see it when players return to former clubs, the emotions get involved and what have you. But I think he's mature enough, and I think he's good enough to stay level-headed in this game. I still am really liking this combo with Callum Hudson-Odoi and Aina down this left-hand side. I think Tavares is better than Aina going forward, but Aina is brilliant in defence as well. So the balance option for me is Aina. And with the centre-backs, I wouldn't change them. Bolly's probably close to being fit. I think Bolly will probably come in. But Spurs are not a high-crossing team. Spurs like to cross it low. You'll see it coming from Jono, as we saw last year. And from Werner, a lot of their crosses are low and cutbacks to within the box. So it doesn't need too much of an aerial presence against Spurs. And I actually think the back 4 or 5, if you include Sells, is what Forest should start with. Elanga, I still find him frustratingly good. I thought he was okay against Fulham. Should have buried his chance. But we definitely need him in this game. It's been taking the mick out all season about how high aligned Spurs play. So I expect no change in the philosophy from Postecoglou. And that should leave plenty of space for the pace merchant that is an Elanga to get in behind that Spurs defence. Now Van de Ven is lightning fast as well. So we want to keep Elanga away from him and more towards Romero's side if possible. And he can take him on. But he's got to utilize that space. And then he's also got to make the right decisions. Sometimes shooting won't be the right decision, and he ends up doing that. Sometimes he needs to cross it, and he ends up shooting. We've got to get him, well, he needs to get himself, or Nuno needs to get him, to get that football IQ level a few notches higher. And if he can do that, I think he could be the key to Forest's success in this game. What do you guys think? Alright, so let's jump ahead and look at the Spurs team. And it's a team that I kind of, despite my hatred for Spurs, I kind of do like. I think it's quite well balanced, but they are having their own issues. And that issue right now really for them is getting the ball in the back of the net. Not so much that they can't score. It's more so that they're not actually shooting when they should be shooting. A bit like, who was it? It was Yates against Palace, or was it Fulham, where he just should have shot at the edge of the box. You kind of get a bit of that with Spurs at the moment. And Van de Ven, I think, is one of the best centre-backs in the league because of his raw pace. Udogie, I think, has been impressive. Porro, I feel like maybe he's gone off the boil a little for them. And Basuma, who started off really hot at the start of the season. There's a bit of change going on there in their 6 and 8. He's the mainstay, but Bentancur and Sarr are the ones that get switched in and out. Past couple of games, Bentancur has started. Now, that is a bit aggressive. I feel Sarr gives it more balance personally, but Bentancur is a good player when Spurs are able to keep possession of the ball. However, the big change here is Kulusevski. Now, Kulusevski against Forest at the City Ground, he was the one who literally did change the game for them when they came on. But he is so far out of form currently that Brennan Johnson has come in. And Brennan Johnson has hit sensational form for them in the last few games. And him and Werner, believe it or not, are working really well. Now, Werner is a terrible shotter at goal. But he is getting those assists. And what Postecoglou is doing is really he's getting Werner to drive to the byline, and then Jono coming in, or vice versa, and looking for those cutbacks in, and it's working a treat for them. And that's my worry, that if Spurs can get in behind our back line, they could create a couple of chances like that. The chances that we saw Villa score a couple from when we played them the other week, that could be our Achilles heel when it comes to that. So that's what we've got to be careful of. But outside of that, when it comes to it, I think the important side of it is what happens with Elanga. Will they push Udogie up high, which is probably what's going to happen, but then you have Van de Ven usually playing on that left-hand side, who could marshal him, but that might shift Spurs across to the left-hand side of the pitch, allowing Callum Hudson-Odoi space. This could be an interesting game. It could turn into a basketball match. What we have to avoid doing as a team in terms of Forest is making sure that we do not give Spurs, that we do not let Spurs have room in front of them. We are actually better off sitting back and making sure the ball's in front of us when it comes to playing Spurs, because then they will get stuck. We will sucker them to that silly high line they play, and we will create space to go in behind them. Spurs have struggled against the bottom half teams this season. They were lucky against Sheffield earlier on in the season, scoring 2 late goals to turn it round from a 1-0 defeat. They went down a goal to Luton the other week. They drew with West Ham last week. Forest, I think, need to play a more counter-attacking style, just a little bit more than we did against Fulham a few days ago. And if we do that, we could set traps for them, and that's going to be the secret to our success. But it's gonna have to have resolute defending in there. Murillo, Omabamidele, if it's him, are gonna have to be rock solid in defence, faultless, which they have been for me most of the season. Now, on top of that, a few other key nuggets to know about Spurs. They're horrific at defending corners. Yes, there is another team apart from Forest that can't defend corners. They're not as good as being bad at it as we are, but they're not that great at it. And they're not an aerial team. They like the ball on the ground. And for me, these are positive things, because our weaknesses are those balls coming in from dead balls, are those balls being crossed in. So maybe that just sways it in our favour slightly. So make that one change Nuno, put the legs in of Dominguez, and then bring the 8s on with 15-20 minutes to go. Hopefully when Forest are like 7-0 up, dare I dream. But what's my prediction for this game? I said that I thought we would lose to Fulham and do a Forest and beat Spurs. We kind of didn't do that, but I still do feel we'll do a Forest and beat Spurs, because I think Spurs will play into our hands. This could be famous last words. You guys are going to say to me, please predict a loss for Forest like you did against Fulham. I would normally, but I can't give my brother that satisfaction. And there is just something inside me that thinks we beat Spurs. Look, let me put it this way. I'm going to be disappointed if we lose. We could draw, but my gut feeling says a win. I'm going to go 3-1. Yeah, you guys are going to hate me, aren't you? But I can just see Forest going 2-1 up, and then Spurs pushing on to get an equaliser. We get a breakaway goal with Elanga. And of course, Cristiano Ronaldo has to score now. Should I say that? Am I jinxing it? I'll stop right now. Go grab your tickets. We'll see you on the Predictor stream. You will not want to miss it, because I still haven't heard from Twist, man. For all I know, he's still locked in a dark room somewhere. Chelsea. Thank you. We'll see you then. Come on, you Reds.